in my home, I was living with my mom and my uncle, the brother to my mom, and no one else. And it was strange because I was wondering why other people don't come to our home. Later, I realized that when I was 3 months old, my father and my sisters left the home and did not return because of the strange things that were happening in the house, in the home. Now, I don't know what happened, the strange things. I didn't see unless when my mother told my story. But when I was 3 years, the event that I can remember is the death of my uncle. And when I began now my initiation into witchcraft, when I was 3 years.
I want us to come back to the death of your uncle, but before we come back to that, can you tell us what happened before you were born? Because this is really a critical part of understanding your journey. Give us an idea of what was going on with your mom and a marriage and her desperation to have a son that laid the foundation for you to come into this world.
So I came to hear this story when I was around 12 years, to hear the story of my birth and why I was strange. Now, by the age of 12, I was already deep in the occult. I'd been made a trainer of witches when I was the age of 9. At the age of 7, I was a territorial witch in charge of a territory. I had strange powers. People older than my mother could come and bow to me. Politicians, businessmen for powers. So I kept wondering, where did I get all these powers? Where am I strange? But my mother kept taking me to different witch doctors for help to be delivered from those powers. But several times we could go to these places to the witch doctors, and the witch doctors could chase my mother away, claiming that when she takes me to them, I steal their powers. So like even the witches, the sorcerers, the diviners, even they hated me because they were, this baby has strange powers. So my mother decided to take me to a man in Pemba. Pemba is in Tanzania, in the Indian Ocean, who was called a sultan. So in this journey, she said, I'm going to take you to this man, and this man is going to help you. So that's when I asked. I remember we were in Dar es Salaam, we were on the port trying to get a ferry to go to Pemba. And I asked her, but Mom, tell me something. Why am I strange? And I could see when I remember I looked at my mother, and like this time she was desperate to tell me and say, please, can you not interfere with where we're going? Can we, please don't interfere. So like to convince me not to interfere, my powers, the power I had as a boy, for where we're going. So she had to tell me the story of my life. How she ended up in this. So this is what she tells me. She says, when she got married the reason she married my father, because her father had died, and her father was a rich chief, and she was the only daughter, and she had a brother, my uncle then. And when her father died, she says she knew the family in Africa, most times the family would take over every property. So she needed protection. So by the grace of God, she says, at the time when her father died, and she's desperate, she's just a young lady, then my father started dating her. And my father, coming from a prominent family, a very known family and very strong, she thought this man, if he marries her, she'll get protection. So she gets into the family. Now, my father also was marrying her because he had been told he would find a young girl, marry early, and get as many children as possible. Because my father, being a son of a chief, son of like a prime minister, he was the only son. The brother had died. He had 7 sisters, the only son. So they were like, now you need to get a woman, get children, and raise a heir for the throne, like the chiefdom. So he marries for the purpose of getting a son. So when she married, my father and my mother, they married, she gave birth. The first child was a girl. The second child, also a girl. The third child, also a girl. Now, by the 4th child, the entire family, the chiefs, the tribe, they're all like, this woman is a West. Because in my tribe, if you have only girls, they say you don't have children.
Wow.
So they wanted a hair. So in desperation, she tried to, she went different witch doctors in different parts of the nation. And so she went, they told her, we're going to help you conceive. Then she conceived the 5th child, who was now also a girl. She went on different witch doctors, different altars, different and also she conceived again the 6th child, also a girl. And she tells me that she was so desperate because she knew if she can't get a son, she will lose the marriage, and now her life will be wasted. Though at that time, she told me that someone told her that there is someone who can help her conceive a son. She had gone to all kinds of altars in Uganda and outside Uganda. She had traveled different parts and gave different sacrifices. She had the money. She could sell her properties to travel different places to help her conceive. So on this particular journey where she went, she was told to go to a forest in Tanzania. There's a place in Tanzania, northern Tanzania. There was a place. So she went there, and she realized that when she arrived at the place, they told her she had to undress and live in the forest for 7 days, going through cleansing.
Wow.
Before she appears before the person to help her. Now, before there's something I want us to note here, that was the kingdom of darkness, but they understand the principle of consecration and cleansing.
Yeah.
Now I understand after that. So they tell her you have to undress, stay in the forest, cold, don't eat anything cooked for 7 days. So after the 7 days, you are clean enough to appear before this priest who was going to help her. So she says when she appeared after 7 days, that this priest was a woman who always lived in the forest, and she was like the chief witch of the entire continent, because all the witch doctors.
I mean, the entire country
of Africa, not continent.
Wait, she was the chief witch of the entire continent of Africa.
Of Africa.
Wow.
All the witches, or the wizards, or the sorcerers, or the politicians, the leaders could go to her for powers. So she lived in the forest, that woman, that priest, and she had only one breast, like one breast in the middle of the chest.
So all the people that went to her to see her often went through similar rituals.
They
have to stay in the forest for 7 days,
naked,
eating leaves and
fruits for 7 days. Wow. And then after 7 days, you appear before her. That was the ritual, and it was like everyone had to go through that. So there were many people there. So she said when she appeared, when she came to her, she looked at that witch, that priest looked at my mother, and said, "Go away. I will not help you." So she has been in the forest for 7 days. And now she's walking away. She says this. Now, just what she told me. She said, as she was going away, she looked in the sky and saw a sign, something that told her that she has a son. She doesn't know what told. So she walks back to the place where they register. And she tells them, please, I want to go and try again. Then they tell her, but also, if you try again, you have to go again through another 7 days. Wow. Now, the 7 days she went through, and then she went another 7 days, that's 14 days. Later, I'll be sharing with you, when I was sick, my deliverance, I had to go through the same cycle of being delivered, the 7 days and another 7 days, but now in the church setting. Because I want to tell people that salvation is free, but deliverance is a price. A price of consecration and being set apart. So she says that, so the second time, the next 7 days, she goes to appear. And when the priestess saw her, said, you are back. You are back. Then my mother tells me, said, okay, I'm back, but you need to help me. Then this woman looks at her and says, well, I can help you, but I can see. Now, I don't know what eye they were using. I can see in the spirit you have a son. But he's very far in the rocks.
He's very far in the rocks.
In the rocks. Now, that's the statement of my mother. He's far in the rocks. And there is a strange star on him. If I bring him out, he will be a problem to our